Welcome to Connection Artist, the podcast for building better relationships by design. Love and human connection are fundamental needs for all of us, but how do we cultivate lasting, emotionally healthy, fulfilling relationships with ourselves and others? I'm Luca, and I invite you to join me in meeting everyday people with diverse backgrounds and ages who all have one thing in common: a genuine passion for fostering meaningful connections. You'll hear their heartwarming stories and practical advice for building lasting marriages, lifelong friendships, and self-love. In this season 1, we sit down with 10 couples, learn how they met, and hear the secrets behind how they've built lasting marriages. Their insights will inspire and enlighten you. I also interview guests who found and maintained warm, lasting friendships for decades, and they're sharing how they did it. And lastly, we can't forget the importance of growing a loving relationship with ourselves, so we discuss building self-love and confidence. I've brought together a fantastic lineup of guests for you to meet who will share their unique stories and invaluable communication and relationship advice. Together, we're learning the secrets to building more meaningful, fulfilling relationships, one conversation at a time. I'm Luca, and I invite you to join me in becoming a connection artist. All right, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have 3 lovely ladies. We've got Sydney, Bree, and Carolyn. They're all friends. They're all women in, I would say, 20s and 30s. Is that accurate? In their 20s and 30s. And we are going to be talking about compatibility today. Some thoughts and considerations for you if you're trying to figure out who the right person is for you to date or even marry. And we're going to get some of their perspectives. They're all at different stages of their relationship life. So this is going to be an exciting conversation. So to kick it off, can you share with us how you guys all know each other and how long you've known each other?
So we met through work. We're all real estate agents, and we just joined the same team around the same time. Mm-hmm. And we just bonded because we're very similar as far as like age and interests and stuff. So.
Okay, great. Mm-hmm. And do you ladies feel comfortable sharing your age? It could just lend additional context for people listening.
I'm 30.
Okay, so Sydney. Mm-hmm. So just say your name and your age.
Okay. Sydney. I'm 30.
All right.
I'm Bree, and I'm 30.
Okay.
And I'm Carolyn, and I'm 26.
Okay, great. So I guessed right. 20s and early 30s. Do you want to share a little bit about where each of you is at in your relationship life at this time?
Sure. This is Carolyn. I don't know if I should specify the voice. Right now, I am seriously dating. We're looking at getting engaged sometime this year, and we've been together for 2.5 years now.
Okay. So Carolyn, she's in a serious relationship. Mm-hmm. 2 years, looking forward to hopefully an engagement soon.
Yeah.
Bree?
And I am single. I've been single for almost 3 years now, and I'm not really dating or anything right now. So.
Okay. Sydney?
Yeah, I was in a relationship for almost 8 years. We were engaged for, I want to say, almost 3 years. And we're in the middle of separating. We still live together. We own a home together and have a 5-year-old. So it's a process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And kind of quick question, when you decided to get married, was it because of the child, or were you planning to get married even before then as well?
Oh, it was definitely because of the child.
Okay.
And I think we had bought a house together, and that was just like the next step you should take. Like society would want us to get engaged. So I definitely felt pressured to at least have a ring on my finger if I have a child, in my industry. I feel like that's just something that made me more confident.
I think that's such an under-discussed topic, is that so many women especially, we feel pressure to, especially in our 20s, get married and have it all, like get the house, get the husband, get the baby, have the career. And, it doesn't serve us best sometimes. It's just the pressure that we feel, and that is something to consider if you are in your 20s or even early 30s. Mm-hmm. Try your best not to compare your stage of life to where other people's stage of life is, because, some people are ready for that and maybe some people aren't. I'm sure there are a lot of people who will be listening to this who are like, I feel that. Like, I definitely feel the pressure to have it all right now. Mm-hmm. And so whether you're dating or single or separating, how do each of you go about building clarity in figuring out what you want in a partner and from a relationship?
I'll start. I think, I've been on a journey the last few years, with my last breakup, which happened in, 2021. I had to, go through a lot of healing with that and, find a lot of self-love for myself. And now that I've, come into a new place of just, loving myself, it changes what I would want from somebody. And I don't really need very much from a guy because I have so much, from myself. So, really, I just want, effort and, I have very high standards for what I want from a guy. And it's honestly, now that I'm at this point of, this strength and this, self-love, it's hard to find that. Mm-hmm. Because normally I would have just, gone for anybody and, the breadcrumbs and stuff. But I don't have those, low standards anymore. So at this point, it's honestly hard to find somebody because, my standards have raised so much.
It's really beautiful. And we hear that a lot, too, is, the advice to develop a relationship with yourself first before getting into a relationship with others, because it does benefit you. It does make it a little harder or maybe a little bit more challenging to date, but having that self-security, I think, will only help your next relationship whenever that does come into your life. So I think that's really beautiful that you took the time to get yourself to a level that you wanted. Wonderful. Carolyn? Sydney?
I think for me, so I was previously engaged with a different guy 4 years ago. We broke it off, so it's been a while now. Mm-hmm. But we met in college, and at that time, I was going to school for marketing and just business, and I didn't know what I wanted to do after college. We knew that we wanted to get married. That was, the one thing that we wanted to do. Yeah. So, he was, my first really serious relationship, so I was young and I didn't have a lot of experience in narcissism and just personality traits. And so me being with him, I felt very protected and he was going to be the provider and all this stuff. And then I get out of college and I decide I'm going to change gears and get into real estate instead. And then that just really, I was definitely just changing as a person. And finding myself in my own individualness, and that just didn't mesh with his personality. So he needed someone that was dependent on him, and me wanting to just go do my own thing was very
threatening.
Yeah, he was really insecure about it, and I was really confused because I didn't know what narcissism was and all of this stuff. And by then we were engaged, so just I think when you're young, too, I know some people know who they are right away. But for me, I was really, growing and changing through those years, and we just grew apart, and it was we're just not going to work together. And so I'm thankful that, we realized that before getting married, because now I was I don't want to date anyone, after that and stuff. I was just, not interested in getting with anyone. And then, when I was to that point finally and just, okay with myself as an individual, that's when I met my boyfriend that I'm dating now. My boyfriend now is very okay with himself being single, too. He wasn't trying to meet anyone either. So I think that's why it's been such a healthy relationship, is because we've grown individually first. And so there's no insecurities or.
So you feel safe with him.
Yeah, we're not threatened by each other. We root each other on. It's just very different.
Good. So. And how did you, for the individuals who might be curious, how did you end up meeting your current partner?
So his parents and my parents are neighbors. My neighborhood growing up was super close. It was a very small neighborhood, so we don't really know how we, never met each other, because we had been neighbors for 6 years before we actually met.
Okay.
But if we met before, I don't think it would have worked out. So it was just perfect timing.
But your family knew of him?
Yeah, we knew, like, who they were, but we didn't really know them.
Okay.
So,
good.
Yeah.
Well, that just kind of goes to show that, you know, sometimes when you least expect it, you might find the person that's for you. I know that some people kind of get stuck on the dating apps and they're like, oh, this is my only way of finding someone. But you just gave a great example of sometimes they're right in your vicinity or your sphere and you might not even be aware of it. Sydney, do you want to share how you've built clarity in figuring out what you want in a partner and from a relationship?
Yeah, I think since it's so fresh, I'm kind of looking for all the qualities that my ex didn't have, you know, so that would be feeling understood and communicating effectively without someone getting defensive or, you know, turning it around on them. Because a lot of times I've never had my feelings or emotions validated, and that's like my entire childhood, you know. So I think someone that is just a nice person with empathy.
Doesn't gaslight you?
Yeah, like pretty, you know, baseline stuff, I feel like, for the average person. I feel like most people are going to have empathy and are going to listen, you know. So for me, I don't want to be as superficial. I want to focus on, like, how he treats me and how our connection feels. And then, of course, their looks are important, but I would definitely not, I would bend on some physical things going forward.
Bend on them if it means you feel better in the relationship.
Yes.
I think that's something, too, that I think a lot of people could relate to. Sometimes they focus so much on how the other person feels that they forget, wait a minute, am I feeling great in this relationship? How do I feel right now? There are a lot of people who prioritize other people's needs or feelings above their own. So that is a really great point to make, is just kind of checking in with yourself, like, how do I feel in this relationship? And these other little things, like, does he drive the perfect car, or, you know, whatever. Maybe that's not as important as he really validates my feelings. He makes time for me. He listens to me. So
Yeah.
take notes, people who are listening.
Yeah.
Too, like, realizing your own personalities and, like for myself anyways, I think narcissists tend to gravitate towards people that are, like, very sensitive and can feel, like, guilt pretty easily, because that's just how they can control them. And I had to realize that about myself when I was in my last relationship. So that's something that I openly talk about in my current relationship. So just kind of, like, knowing, like, your traits, and I feel guilty for things that I shouldn't feel guilty for. That's just like how I am. So yeah, like, finding someone that doesn't take advantage of that is huge.
And before we started, Sydney, you mentioned a little bit how maybe one of the reasons why you gravitated to choosing him was he reminded you of some of the characteristics that you saw in your family. So do you want to speak a little bit about that, of some of the similarities that you saw there, and why you're like, oh, this is something that I'll welcome into my life, but then later you realize, nope, that's not what I want more of in my life?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because before him and I started dating, I was single for like 6 years in my early 20s, you know, my prime. So,
okay, they all are beautiful ladies. They all are still in their prime. You guys can't see them, but they're all gorgeous. So,
but I just think that's really telling, because I was still working on myself too, like what their points were, trying to, you know, be your best self in order to be ready for your partner, whatever. Like, I didn't date anyone because I just wasn't ready, but it's interesting that I ended up with him because there was something comfortable about his personality, but
uncomfortable.
Comfortable because it was familiar. But I always knew that it wasn't right. Like, I never thought I would marry him, ever. I wanted to get there, but it's just not possible for him.
And so you mentioned that, like, someone in your family had narcissistic traits, and maybe that's why that felt familiar or tolerable then to you.
I think I just, like, I dated a lot of nice guys, and those that I thought was boring. Because, like, narcissists, there's always some heightened, like, drama. I don't know. I think it was a weird, almost subconscious familiarity that I didn't even know. Like, I was so young, I didn't even know my mom was a narcissist at that point. I don't know, it was very subconscious, if that makes any sense.
I think, too, I think it's normal that, you know, when you're in your early 20s, you're still learning about yourself, learning about people, learning about the world. So it's not unheard of that you might welcome in people into your life and then later learn through life experience, that's actually not how I want to be treated. Those are not the kinds of relationships I want moving forward. So as terrible as these experiences sometimes are, sometimes they do serve learning lessons for us, and, like, at least knowing what I don't want in the future. I'm sure, if anything, coming out of this relationship, you're much, and it sounds like you are earlier, you were like, I definitely know that I need someone who has this and this and that kind of trait. So
yeah,
there are some positives that come out of it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then what are some challenges in figuring out what you want? We talked a little bit about, you guys each have some clarity around what you want, but what were some challenges in getting to that clarity?
I guess I have a question for Brie after this too. But, like, I guess for me and my personality in the past, I've always, like, given things a second chance. Like, I give it a super long time period to see, like, you know, I just give them all this time to see if they're actually going to change, or, like, if this is an actual deal breaker or if it's fine. And it's just because my personality is almost just too forgiving and nice, and that's, like, a weakness of mine that I know now, and I'm, like, working on, like, actually bringing up things that bother me, or, like, because I never did that before. But, like, I guess with your dating, Brie, like, how long do you give things until you're just like, nope, this isn't the person, and you move on? Because with me, it was like, I'd be in it for 2 years. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I
mean, I think it's taken me a long time because I was in a pretty toxic relationship. My last relationship was very toxic. And I would say, like, I noticed red flags right away, but I would ignore them because I wanted so badly to be loved. And that was, like, those unhealed parts of me. But I'd say now, within, like, an hour, I can tell if I like somebody or not. Like, if I go on a date, I can, within one date for sure, I can be like, do I like this person or not? So it definitely took, like, a long time. I stayed in a relationship for way longer than I should have, when I knew pretty early on that, like, he has anger issues and all this stuff. But I was like, oh, but I saw the potential. Like, he'll get better. Like, he just needs to meditate more or whatever. Like, literally was like, I can just teach him to meditate and he'll be better. Yeah. But, like, it sucked my, like, soul, like, eventually from, like, that toxicity. So I'd say now, like, from all the healing, like, I can tell pretty quickly if somebody is a healthy person and they want to grow and they are, like, willing to put in effort and stuff with you. So
what are some, for people who are curious, what are some key red flags or green flags you look for on a first date? Because you said you get a pretty good sense. Is it, like, a certain set of questions that you ask them, or certain things that you're paying attention to that for you are signals, like, yay or nay on this person?
I think it's just, like, I guess how we converse, and, like, I kind of just pay attention to, it's not just like specific things. I guess I just pay attention to the way that they live their life and the way that they, like, our conversation flows. Like, I can just tell, like, how we mesh together and
how you feel too. Probably, like, if they're making you comfortable, or
and their principles, like, I can kind of see those right away. So.
And when you spent the last few years kind of doing work on yourself, what did that look like? What was that process like? Or what kind of content or resources or support did you seek out to do that inner work on yourself?
Oh my God, this is like that's a lot, but something I've been reflecting on a lot lately, because like during that time I remember seeing things on Instagram or whatever like about healing, and I'm like, what the heck is healing? Like, how do you heal? What does that even mean? Or how do you like step into your power? Like, I did like struggle a lot emotionally through that time, and like definitely like had a lot of loneliness and sadness. So I would say just like basic things like exercising and running and like yoga, those things really helped me like mentally and stuff. And then I guess processing, like I'm a big like writer, so I write a lot and like process that way. I think everybody would have a different approach to like that healing, but I guess for me it was like running and yoga, and then writing, and then like talking with other people, music, I don't know, like a lot of different things.
Those are good tips. Like I was just kind of curious, tips for people to kind of process and move on from those experiences in their past. So working on your body, your wellness, sounds like that was part of it. When it comes to writing, was it journaling or what did that look like? Journaling, okay. Yeah. And then like sharing your stories with other people, or maybe getting outside perspectives. And then did you say anything else?
Another thing is like I did find like some programs online with like healing and stuff and manifestation. So there was some program that I did that was like inner child work. Yeah. So you basically go back to like your inner child and like things that you like needed when you were younger, and like kind of like giving yourself that now. So that was like another healing thing that I did.
Good. Yeah, no, these are good tips for people like Google. So they can Google inner child work. What about
do that?
Yeah, what about you ladies? Are there anything additional when it comes to kind of self-healing or personal growth? Any kind of topics that you recommend people Google or learn a little bit more about in building their own relationship with themselves?
For me, I've become obsessed with learning about narcissists, because it's helped me understand different scenarios that I've had in my relationships, and understanding how their mind works has helped me give myself some slack, because a lot of victims of narcissists become really angry that they let someone do this to them. So I'm in that process right now of, trying to forgive myself and move to the next chapter.
Is part of it like understanding what happened and why, and then
what happened and why, and what to look for, in the future, and why it happened to me, so that I can make sure that I don't do that again.
Yeah.
A lot of like understanding that personality trait too is just like giving yourself forgiveness for like, I don't know, it's not your fault at all. It's just
And I know that a lot of people can probably relate to meeting or dating people with narcissistic qualities. I did a lot of research on it too. I've been studying for the last couple of years. I've studied attachment theory and all the different things that look like certain types of attachment styles and such. So narcissism, for example, can look like what an avoidantly attached person is, but they are different. There are a lot of psychologists that say that there's like a minimal percentage of people in the population who are like true verified narcissists. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like if you do believe you're dating a narcissist, maybe they are, but maybe they just have a lot of qualities that are similar to that. But it's probably a psychologist that I just don't want people to go around like pointing fingers at everyone that they know and like, you're a narcissist, you're a narcissist. Like it is a diagnosis. So if you think that you might be dating one, definitely talk to a professional and get their perspective as well. And I don't know what else that you can do if you are dating one, because I'm sure the narcissist doesn't really think that there's anything wrong with them. They're like, nope, the issue is you, not me. So they're less likely to go to therapy and get diagnosed. But definitely read up on narcissism if you're not familiar with what kinds of warning signs to look for. Again, you might be meeting people, if you're out there dating, you might be meeting people who have a lot of narcissistic traits. They may be full-blown narcissists, they might not, but just be prepared as far as what to look out for and red flags. Good points, ladies. What are some things that you definitely don't want in your next relationship or in your marriage as far as compatibility goes? We talked about some things that you do want, validating feelings, people that share your principles. Are there a couple of red flags that you definitely don't want more of in your life? Of course, narcissistic traits, that's out. Mm-hmm. Anything that's in that vicinity we don't want. Any other major things that you think people should consider that might be signals of an unhealthy relationship?
I think for me, it's like before I started dating my now boyfriend, I kind of realized that I needed the next person to line up politically and religiously with me. And I think that that's like a big factor for a lot of people, whether like they just don't care about it and like maybe their partner does care about it. They can just have like so many different opinions that are like very deep-rooted feelings in a lot of people. So like my last relationship before this, he was kind of wishy-washy on everything, which is fine for him, but I was more passionate about certain things. And then when my partner like really didn't care about it, then it felt like he didn't care about me. So that's something that I like recognized that I needed in my next relationship. So
someone who shares like your level of emotional investment in certain principles or values to be like a compatible partner.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Brie? Anything that you definitely don't want in your next relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I think besides like the anger issues and things that we mentioned that are like a given, I'd say somebody who's like not complacent. They want more out of life. They want to grow, they want to explore, they want to adventure. Somebody who's not just like, I'm comfortable and I just want to stay here. Like, I'm kind of an adventurous spirit. I want somebody who shares that with me as well. So
yeah, I think we see that a lot. Like, a lot of people love to still travel, still explore the world. So I think that's a good one to call out. What about you, Sydney? Anything that you definitely don't? I mean, you've already shared several, but any big item that you're like, definitely not that in my future?
Well, I think I just want to make sure that my future partner is going to be masculine and like be the leader of the relationship, because I was the leader in my last relationship, and it's too much. Like, I don't have the energy to think all the time. Like, I would love to go on a date where they make the reservation and I don't have to think, I just have to like be there. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think a lot of women love that, is like a man who's kind of in his masculine, who like does the planning, who makes like life a little easier for them. I saw some content that a friend shared with me one time, and it kind of resonated. It's kind of about this topic where men who are more in their feminine, not that there's, it's not a terrible thing, but men who have more feminine tendencies, like maybe they sit back, they wait for the woman to lead, things like that. It almost makes the woman have to become more masculine. And then sometimes the feedback is, well, I wish that she was more feminine. Well, you're not really creating the space for her to be in her feminine if she's having to take on things that she was expecting you to do.
Yeah.
So that's just something for listeners who might be, if you're a man looking for a feminine woman, just kind of do a self-check. Like, am I showing up in a masculine way in this partnership? Or if you're a female and you'd like to be more in your feminine, just take a look at maybe who you're dating. Does he make me feel safe and relaxed to be in my feminine right now? Or do I feel like I kind of have to play his role plus the female role as well? So just food for thought. Let's see. So going back to Carolyn, when you first started dating, how did you decide that, I don't know his name, but the man that you're going to get engaged to, that you wanted to date him exclusively?
I really liked that he was super solid and bold about his values. Like, he knew who he was. But he was also very, like, empathetic towards people, so it wasn't this, like, I'm right, you're wrong type of thing. It was just, like, he knew who he was. And that was very attractive to me because I could come into it as, like, we both know who we are and we're just coming as a partnership and we're making each other's lives better. So I knew that about him, like, the first time I met him, and that was super attractive to me. I also, he pursued me, like, very hard, and not in a creepy or, like, unhealthy way. It was just, like, he was very intentional with me, which I had never had before. So, and everything was out in the open, like, nothing was sneaky, nothing was, like, he never manipulated me. It just was very, like, it was like a breath of fresh air. And, yeah, so it's just really attractive to me. And since it came in a time where I was, like, not wanting a relationship, I was just kind of shocked about it right away. And, so it took a couple months of thinking about it before I actually said yes to going out with him, but yeah. So I knew I liked him right away. I just was like, I didn't think I'd be, like, ready to get into a relationship right now, but yeah.
I like that point that you made about when he was pursuing you, that was very attractive. I think a lot of women relate to that. That's going back to the topic of masculine versus feminine energy. If you're a female and you feel like you're the one pursuing him, that's another kind of indication, like, I don't feel comfortable being my feminine because I feel like I'm kind of taking over his role. I'm the one suggesting let's go on a date. I'm the one reaching out to him first. These kinds of things can draw you out of your feminine energy and kind of almost lead to an unfulfilling relationship for yourself if you're a female. Of course, every woman is different, though. Some women love taking charge, some women love that kind, but I would say a lot of women who naturally tend to be in their feminine energy or wish to be in their feminine energy, it's a turn off when they have to be the pursuer and a turn on when the man is making the effort and showing boldness or courage to take the lead on some things. So
yeah, I always had to put that effort in before, so it was just new for me. And at the same time, he was always, like, cheering me on in work and, like, oh, you should go see your friends, and, like, trying to, like, support me in all my, like, enjoyments too while pursuing me at the same time. So it's just very different.
It sounds like a great guy.
Yeah, he was great.
He sounds like someone that is very, like, confident.
Yeah.
But not like overly confident in a way where some people are so confident that they almost, like, put other people down, but it sounds like he's such an equal supporter of you, and he's not, like, fazed by you having a life outside the relationship, and all good things right there.
I have to say, I do that where I kind of just sit back and let guys, like, if they want to talk to me, like, I'll let them pursue me. I never want to be that, like, pick-me girl who's like, like, how's it going? Like, what are you doing? Like, I just kind of sit back at the beginning and, like, you know, let them pursue me. But I've had guys be like, well, I never heard from you or whatever. And I'm like, it's kind of your job. Like, and guys kind of are always like, well, it's a two-way street. Like, that's what I've heard from guys. And that's just, like, that to me is such a turnoff when they, like, put it on me and, like, well, I didn't hear from you. It's like, well, that's your job. I don't know. I've just ran into that a lot in, like, modern dating and, like, in the last few years. And that's why I think, like, it hasn't worked out, because guys are, like, not really in their masculine in that way.
Yeah, and there are even, like, dating coaches online who are men who speak to a female audience, and they say the man is going to make it obvious if he likes you. Like, if he's truly enamored with you or whatever, like, nothing's going to stop him. Like, it doesn't matter how busy his schedule is, doesn't matter what he has time, like, what's going on in his life, he's going to make time to see you. I mean, of course there are things that pop up, like an accident or some kind of health thing, like, whatever. But the point that even a lot of men know about themselves is that if they truly want something, they're go-getters about it. Like, their careers, they want that VP position, they're going to go after it, and no one's going to stop them. No Joe or Bill or whomever is going to stop. Like, it's the same way, I think, if they're certain about a woman, I think they do make that effort. I think it's maybe the men who are like uncertain about themselves or others, or maybe have insecurities that are kind of holding back and maybe aren't like fully going for it. Like I wish that men would just take a chance when it comes to like starting a conversation with someone that they see. The worst that a woman can do is say no or not respond to your text. That's all right. You never know what positive outcome can happen, though, by you initiating an outreach to someone. So I just really encourage men to just get in that habit if they would like to welcome in a woman into their life, because you're hearing here that women are really attracted and impressed by men who show effort.
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay, so next question. What has influenced your choice of partner in the past, and what do you want to influence your choice of partner in the future?
I kind of have something to say about that.
Yeah,
Because we're on the masculine topic. I thought that I had the whole, masculine idea all wrong. Like, I thought they needed to be, like, really muscular and, like, macho and almost, you mentioned confidence with too confident, like, putting people down. I thought that's what, like, a manly man was. But, sometimes there's some arrogance with that. And my whole idea of, masculine energy has changed. And it's more of, like, almost a softer version of what I thought it would be, if that makes sense.
What does that look like? Like for anyone listening, especially men who might be listening, like what does a softer version of a masculine man look like?
Like not like shouting it from the rooftops, like a manly man, like just
like a quiet confidence.
Yeah, quiet confidence doesn't mean you have to have like huge muscles. Like
I think arrogance is like the number one turn off for ladies. So
yeah, yeah.
Probably like kindness too.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
I feel like maybe that's lacking.
Mm-hmm.
It was lacking in your past relationship. It's like he was super manly, but like angry and like not very kind.
Yeah, yeah, and I associated that with him being, just a manly guy, but that's not, healthy for anyone.
Yeah, and it's possible that some of these men learn those traits from their fathers. Like if they see growing up, like, their father, whom they revered as like the manly man of the family, maybe he had anger issues, or maybe he was like, whatever I say goes. Like sometimes it is learned behavior, but those, like respect is not a masculine or a feminine trait. It's what's required for a healthy relationship. So if you're trying to be a masculine, this is just my opinion, but if you're trying to like put out or project a masculine image or character, it doesn't mean overpowering someone. A masculine person is just confident in themselves, so they don't have something to prove. They don't have to put down the female. They don't have to talk down to anyone or lead with their ego. They're just confident in who they are, and that's what makes them attractive. Like confidence for any gender makes you attractive, whether it's a man viewing a woman and she's very confident, he's like, oh, she's very attractive. Same thing with women, I think, is when we see a man who's just very confident in himself and has nothing to prove, she's like, oh, he's very attractive. Anything else to say on the topic of like soft masculinity, what that looks like?
I think too, it's like it's attractive, like masculinity is attractive because it's kind of like this leader type role. I think females like to be led and felt like they're taken care of. But when it's like a healthy leader is someone that, or someone whose family actually wants to follow just through their actions and how they're living their life. I think it's like a masculine man is healthy when he's living as a leader that his family wants to follow, because clearly he's doing something right then.
So to kind of summarize that, a masculine leader is someone who has influence, not aggression or force. Like he's not leading with force or aggression. He's leading by influence and motivation. Yeah. Would you guys feel like that's accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Just trying to clarify it for people who are listening. They're like, I'm very confused on this masculinity topic. Okay, so what about role models? What kind of role models have each of you had in the past for building healthy relationships or lasting relationships? Or it's okay to say, I haven't really had those kinds of role models.
I had this one friend growing up whose parents were so awesome, and I would love being over at her house because as soon as you walk in the door, it's just like a happy, calm environment. And I just remember specifically something that really shocked me was like something went wrong when the wife or the mom was making dinner. Like the dog ate the prosciutto. I know. And at my house, like there would be screaming, there would be swearing, like dinner would be ruined. And I remember she just laughed it off and she was like, oh, it looks like I'm going to have to go to the store. And then they like laughed it off and the husband came and like gave her a kiss and whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I could it was like a lesson, like, oh, I'm just going to laugh off these things. It was like it hit me in the face, like, oh, that doesn't have to be a big deal. Like over here, it's not a big deal. So, their whole vibe was just so non-threatening and like I could actually relax there. And that's something that I would like to have someday. That's with my family.
Really great example. Mm-hmm. Like that was, you must have been really perceptive as a child. I don't know, how old were you at that time, do you think?
I was friends with her from middle school to high school. Okay. So
that must have been really positive to see the contrast though, mm-hmm. of what loving relationships or nurturing family households look like, especially if maybe you didn't have that in your childhood home. Mm-hmm. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What about you guys? Do you guys have any healthy role models for relationships? Or any people
I have to say my role model couple is probably Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds.
Yes.
They're like my favorite couple. They're so they're obviously so in love and like they like poke fun at each other and whatever in the media. I just think they're really cute. Dream couple right there.
So your couple goals are a celebrity couple.
Yeah. I haven't had any in my sphere, so
okay.
That's what I have to.
That's fine. What about you, Carolyn?
Mine is definitely my parents. Their marriage, I think, has been like the only good marriage I've seen play out in my whole life.
Okay.
Which also was hard when I was like learning who I was because I always like wanted what they had, so I was like trying to like imitate everything that they did and everything, but just learning that I'm my own person and some things that work for them won't work for me, but definitely their marriage has been the best role model.
How long have they been together?
28 years.
Okay, wow. And if you had to just use a couple, this sounds kind of scholastic, if you had to use a couple adjectives to just describe the feeling that their relationship has, how would you describe that?
Trust. Like there's never been a doubt for them ever on any level I know in their relationship.
Trust in each other or trust?
Yeah, just in like the boundaries of their relationship and the family as a
mm-hmm.
whole. They had a shared vision of like how they wanted to raise like us kids and everything. Mm-hmm. And then just like humor, like they love to have fun together and everything that they do they want to do together. And like even growing up, like their anniversaries or whatever, they'd always bring us kids. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, like I remember my friends' parents would leave on like vacations alone, and then like our friends would stay back with their grandparents or whatever. Mm-hmm. And my parents always brought us with, so it was like they always made it apparent that they loved spending time with each other, and anything that they did they wanted to do with each other and like their kids. So
very inclusive, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. That's really sweet that you had that right there with you, like growing up, that you had such a great role model for relationships. And then, so getting back to, we all had certain standards that we talked about. How do you balance having standards, but also not seeking perfection in a partner? Because there are people who can just, create a perfection list and then get so married to that idea of, I have to have a person who has all of these things. But maybe you meet someone that has 80% of that. Like, do you throw them out? At what point do you draw the line between your standards and just seeking perfection? I don't know if any of you guys have had to make that kind of choice or think about that in your dating lives.
I have the list down. I literally have it in my notes, but I haven't dated yet, so I can't answer that one.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a list in your mind or formally written down, Bree?
Not necessarily, but yeah, I think like there's just a balance of like you have to feel connected to that person, and like if it feels right, if like things flow naturally between the two of you, then I think it's worth pursuing, whether or not they have every single tick in the box that like you're looking for. I think it's worth like going with the flow with somebody too.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel currently, Bree, and if you're starting to date soon, Sydney, do you feel dating is empowering or disempowering? And is it something that you're looking forward to or something that you're kind of dreading a little bit?
I mean, I think like I'm very happy with myself, and I pretty much like I have everything that I could want in my life except for a partner. Mm-hmm. So to me, like it's exciting to date. I guess like first dates in general are a little bit like exhausting, so you just have to go through like getting to know and like, yeah, these are the basics about me. But I think it's exciting, like the thought of actually being with somebody and like getting to know them, like that to me is exciting. But yeah, I haven't gotten there yet either. So. Okay.
Are you, Sydney, looking forward to dating, or are you kind of dreading it a little bit?
It's like half and half, I think. Because the last time I dated, I never ended up liking anyone. So that was probably because I was at a different place in my life and didn't know myself quite as well yet. So I think I'll just have to feel it out.
Okay.
I'm definitely not going to do any apps, though.
No apps.
No apps.
Okay, great. Last question then, as we round it all out, is what advice do you have for people who are trying to figure out their dating goals and what they want in a partner? Any lasting words of wisdom? Like if you had a little sister or even a little brother, what would you tell them if they're getting ready to date and trying to figure out their dating goals and what's ahead for them?
I think I would just like know what your core values are in life that you really can't budge on, and then there's other things that don't really matter, like if you do a hobby and the other person doesn't really enjoy it, like you can be fine, like it doesn't have to be like that deep, but like just your values that you really care about, know those before you start dating, I think would just help everyone out.
Yeah, so know your deal breakers then, like the absolute must-haves versus like the nice-to-haves.
Yeah.
Bree, any advice from you?
I'd say just get to a point in your life where you're so happy with yourself that you don't really need somebody, but they can add value to your life, and make sure you don't settle and you're with somebody who's willing to put in effort.
Good advice. Sydney?
Yeah, love those. I think to add on to that, I would say make sure that you feel like you can completely be yourself around them and that they complement your personality and calm your nervous system and all those good feelings, good things. That's
So focus on how you feel, and if you feel good in the relationship, don't just think about, is the other person good? Like, how do I feel right now?
Yeah, you should put yourself first.
Love that.
My mom always said that love should be super easy, and you should just be best friends. And then you're good.
It's worked for them, it sounds like, for 28 years.
All right, well, I want to thank all of you guys for lending your life experiences and your advice. I know that there are probably a lot of women who will listen to this too, who maybe don't have a close-knit group of girlfriends that they can go to for this kind of advice. So you're definitely doing a service to a lot of listeners, and maybe even some men who might be listening and just want to learn a little bit more about what women are looking for and how to have successful dating. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast episode. We'll be back for more.
As we wrap up another episode of Connection Artist, I want to express my gratitude to you for listening and exploring how we can all grow and better connect with one another. I created this podcast to support your relationship success and happiness. If you found value in this episode, here's how you can support me and help spread the word about this podcast. First, subscribe to this podcast and share it with 10 friends. If you share this education with 10 people and they share it with 10 people and so on, we can grow this movement of creating a more loving and caring world. If you'd like to show your support on a personal level, visit www.analuca.com. That's ANALUCA. Explore my heart-centric products and education, from poetry books to online courses, art prints to apparel. Every purchase directly enables me to continue producing episodes and sharing these valuable stories and insights with you, because this podcast is not free to create. Please consider buying something I've made with my heart and soul to connect with you. Discover handmade heart-shaped art prints and hoodies featuring my exclusive Crypto Love Drops collection at www.artbyanaluca.com. Read about the inspiration behind these beautiful heart artworks at cryptolovedrops.com. These make really great, unique gifts for your friends, family, and spouse, and serve as a lasting symbolic reminder of your love for them. Or if you enjoy journaling or you'd like to start, get my 15-minute daily guided journal for confident mindset titled Yes, I Can. If you want more stories, buy my poetry book, The People We Meet, available on Amazon or directly on my website, artbyanaluca.com. Just click on the Books tab. Listen to my music album called Reprise on Spotify. Fun fact, the opening music track that you heard on this podcast is actually composed by me and is featured in my music album. If you want to learn how to strengthen your self-worth, get my digital ebook called Well Valued, which features a 30-day blueprint for building self-worth. Or if you're single and want to learn how to assess and find your most compatible dating partner using AI, get my digital course called Well Matched. These products are all designed to strengthen your self-worth and relationships and are all linked in my website, www.analuca.com. Also, don't forget to check out my hand-illustrated apparel line at www.laughstoself.com. I hand-designed really funny, cute illustrations that made me laugh, but also serve the purpose of spreading humor, love, and connection with others. That apparel line of hoodies, t-shirts, and sweaters are exclusively available only on my website, so if you want to wear something unique, check out laughstoself.com. Connect with me on social media for podcast and life updates. You can follow me on Instagram or TikTok at AnaLucaOfficial. And lastly, if you're based in the United States and would like to be interviewed on the podcast, send me a message at myconnectionartist@gmail.com to potentially join me as a guest on this show in the future. Remember to subscribe to this podcast and leave a 5-star review. It helps a lot in reaching more listeners like you who can benefit from this information. Thank you for being a part of this Connection Artist community. I'm wishing you so much love and happiness in your relationships. Stay tuned for the next episode.